this week I'm turning my attention to this cute little thing here. This is my Distin Ventilhorn. The legacy of the Distin family on international brass playing cannot be underestimated. John Distin and his family travelled the length and breadth of Europe and North America, regularly performing for royalty such as Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, and greatly influencing composers of the time. And you can get a bit of an impression of just how busy they were if you check out Roy Farr's Distin diaries online. You can see where they were travelling to and what they were playing. It's a really useful resource. When the ensemble started out, John Distin, the father, was playing slide trumpet, 3 of his sons were playing natural horn, and 1 of his sons was playing the trombone. They were accompanied by Mrs. Distin, their mother, and sometimes you also saw, I think it was Rose Distin, the daughter, who was also a singer. In fact, a couple of the boys were also singers, so you see that they would incorporate vocal pieces into their programming. The big turning point for the Distins was in late 1843, early 1844, when the family travelled to perform concerts in Paris, where they met the instrument maker Adolphe Sax and were introduced to his new design of instrument, the Saxhorn. Now, I've got a Saxhorn over there, but I'm going to leave that for another day. But the Distins basically saw this new instrument, incorporated it into what they were doing, and started kind of almost evangelically promoting this new design of instrument. They were very entrepreneurial. Not only did they produce and design instruments, they were producing music, method books, journals on brass, how to run brass ensembles and brass bands. They were running brass band contests. It was almost kind of like a holistic approach to everything you would need to be a brass player of the time. And therefore they're really fundamentally important in the development of the brass band movement during the 19th century. As I say, they were constantly developing new designs, and this is known as a Ventilhorn, and this one we suspect from the dating and everything on it that it comes from 1862, the year of the Great Exhibition here in London, and we know that the Distins had quite a impressive stall at the Great Exhibition. There's a nice review of it in which it talks about just how good Distin's instruments were, and there's a nice little illustration of this design of instrument in the review. So it's a really, really sweet instrument to play. It's pitched in E flat, and it's happiest quite high, about 450, 452, which is sometimes referred to as Philharmonic pitch from the UK at the time. So it's quite a high-pitched instrument, and we don't appear to have any surviving examples of the Distin repertoire. We know what they played because of the concert programmes, but we've got no brass ensemble pieces by them. So we have to extrapolate from the evidence that we have. What we do know was that they were really flexible musicians, and that they were able to tailor their programmes to a great extent. Sometimes this was for very tragic reasons. The eldest son, George, died on the eve of them setting out for a big tour of the States, so they would be immediately one musician down, and that must have meant quite a monumental change in their repertoire almost overnight. And you also see how when they travelled from place to place they would try to incorporate local themes. So for example, again, when they went to the States, there was an American Fantasia which included Star Spangled Banner and Yankee Doodle. They also played a lot of Scottish and Irish airs and melodies, and it's to one of those that I've turned for this week. I've chosen Thomas Moore's The Minstrel Boy. We know that this was a tune that the Distins liked to play, and what I've done is I've actually transcribed Balfe's version. Balfe was an Irish composer very famous for his operas, and he set a lot of Thomas More's works for voice and piano. So I've basically stolen Balfe's version of Thomas More's The Minstrel Boy and put it on this Ventilhorn. So we have a 1862 Henry Distin and Co. Ventilhorn playing a tune that we know the Distins used to play a lot in concert. If you're enjoying these wonderful instruments from what can loosely be described as the horn family, I think I'll include this as a horn for this week. Do like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then you can follow all the rest of the videos as I slowly work through my collection. Enjoy!